folks, this is Monk with twistedmonk.com, and you're viewing what will be the very first Twisted Monk Labs review of hardware. Now, for those of you who've been following me online will know that in January of 2010 I had a piece of truss hardware fail in the middle of performance. Fortunately, due to some quick thinking, no one was hurt. But that said piece of hardware and the hardware manufacturer went back to the drawing boards, and we have been working with them to try to get a improved product for me to look at. So the purpose of this video is very important. This is not a paid product endorsement, nor is this an engineering review. I am not an engineer. What I am, however, is a guy who uses hardware and uses his hardware very hard. What I've done is I've had the manufacturer send me, sealed away, the same product that you would get. The intention of this video is to assemble it, look at the good and the bad elements of it, so that you, the consumer, can make an informed buying choice about whether or not this piece of hardware is going to work for you. So with that, I give you the Tetruss 2. Shipped to me. The first thing I want to say about it is that really light. This box is about 24 pounds. So as suspension frames go, this is probably the lightest on the market I've ever seen. And that is one of the things I've always liked about the product. Let's see how it comes. Packing material. This is the top plate. Get a close up on the welds around that. It's pretty serious welding. All right, this is the hardware that comes with it. We have what look like feet for the bottom legs. A series of cotter pins. Put those there. A series of leg pins. And a top bolt for this. Then we have the actual legs that make up the unit. I should note that this is a very chilly November day that we're doing this. Any sounds here in the background are my neighbors also trying to make a living today, so all for authenticity. Okay, these look like top legs. Top legs, bottom legs. Okay. So each of the legs looks like it consists of a rubber foot that caps over. It's not bad. You've got a pin to a pin here that rolls through, which comes through, which is where these guys are from. My initial thought here is going to be these pins are not stamped as being rated or load weighted or sailing grade or anything like that. So the engineer in me goes, I think I might go to marine hardware. We're using a cotter pin to keep them in place here. Now, that seems like that might be safe. My initial thought here is like, this is nice. The engineering nerd in me would go, I'm gonna go to a sailing place and get a sailing grade, and I'm gonna lose this cotter pin. So I would just, personal desire. The top plate that thing locks into, the unit ships with, that's an open eye, okay? There's no stamping or rating on it. This may be nice. Personally, I'm not gonna trust it. That looks like something you bought at a hardware store. I went to Tacoma Screw and bought a forged load-rated unit. Again, it's really important to note that suspension bondage is dangerous. This is edge play. You could end up seriously hurting and possibly killing someone. So always use the highest quality equipment and don't cheap out on little parts and pieces. So yes, this is grade 5, industrial grade. Top piece. I would not use one of these. Negative. This should be okay. My long term, I would replace these two. It keeps the legs nice and from separating, which is how we had the first failure. But you got some slop, you got some wiggle. Maybe that'll change when we get under load. But that's just sort of my first impression. Is okay, it's a little sloppy, a little wiggly. I work this out, and what the hell happens when I lose this cotter pin? Because let's face it, if you've ever bought anything from IKEA, you always lose little fucking things. Okay, let's put this thing together. All right, so here's an interesting feature that I really like, actually, is the end legs are cut at a beveled angle to better mate up to the top plate to create. And so before, these were not cut at this nice beveled angle, and you had a possibility to create more tension. Again, I'm not a metal engineer, but my common sense tells me flat surface against flat surface, less opportunity to create wiggle, create stress, and create the potential for failure. All right, so the unit is up, okay? This took me about maybe 5-10 minutes to put together. Again, this is a strength of the unit that I really like. It is light and it is very, very easy, very fast. There are only about 9 moving parts to put together. I think that's a real plus of the unit. Now, anyone who's worked under a tripod unit before knows that there are inherent dangers and flaws to this design, okay? Any tripod design, okay? First off, you're gonna be wiggly, and unless your hard point is like physically bolted into a building, there's always the potential of your tripod moving. I think the improvement here to the feet that go over cap here, I think is a big improvement to the original foot design on this. So there's less opportunity, I should say, for that foot to move away. Also, remember that beveled cut I showed you at the top up here? Provides less chance, this feels less likely that the legs are gonna splay out too much, okay? Now, remember those cotter pins we talked about? I purposely put my cotter pins on the outside, okay? To show a point that if I lose this cotter pin, this is gonna fall out, okay? This is, with no load under it, it's got a little wiggle to it. Okay? All tripods are going to do that, whether it's solid pieces or whether they're joint pieces. Okay? The hope is that when we're under load, the downward weight will force everything and make it more stable. Again, anyone who's ever worked with a bondage tripod knows there is an inherent flaw in all tripods, and that is movement. Now, the manufacturer, in the documentation, expresses that there's a safe working distance, that this is good for static bondage or limited movement. For those who may recall, I was doing dynamic movement bondage when the unit I had failed. So, as I put weight on the unit, it's light aluminum, pretty stable. I'm kicking the leg out though. Now, I'm working on a carpet, but if this was on a slicker surface or you got rambunctious or something like that, notice shaping here. It starts curving out, okay? Again, I don't think, well, check that out. It wants to snap back to this position. Is that a life-threatening flaw? I don't know. But it does give me pause, okay? Manufacturer specifications say we shouldn't swing outside the radius, the plane of the arms. So what happens? Our leg's gonna move. Thanks to these cotter pins though, the leg will not collapse on us. But now we have an unstable moment. Whoa. So if you got a swinger, kudos to them for including a cotter pin design, because at no point did this feel like this was going to come undone. So in just the short time that I've had this, and this has only been up for a little while, and the thrashing around I've done, my rubber cap feet, while still pretty solid, you're starting to see some pull. Like that, where it's a little bit of wear. Again, this could be really minor, but if you're going to use this thing a lot or over time, this could be something to be aware of. My recommendation would be that A, the manufacturer offer the replacement feet, should I need to buy them if they wear out, so that you can replace them. And B, yeah, I would probably epoxy this thing down. Now, just for the sake of an experiment, simple sandbag. Because like I said, this looks like it's a great lightweight truss, but if we get too rambunctious on it, I don't know, is it going to create an issue? So by adding just a little bit of weight to my side, I just stabilize it even more. So again, not an insurmountable problem, but something you need to be aware of. So what does this all mean to you? Okay. If I were to include this in my personal toy bag, I would include it because I like the lightweight, I like its compact design. Things I would change immediately out of the box before I ever played with it again. Did not like the attaching hardware, and these ones, cotter pins, while not critical failure, I don't like them. The attached ring that they send with it, total critical failure, don't use it all. I think that's a really bad move. If I'm only doing static bondage, where someone's just gonna hang, or limited movement, this really doesn't give me pause. I'm not worried about it. I like with its wide, flattened off top that I have the ability to move around inside my tripod. Because most tripods, I'm banging my melon. Still, the $64,000 question is, what about movement? Yes, this is a good truss for static bondage. But as we all know, static bondage can turn into fluid movement bondage at the turn of a rope. Anything can happen, and the next thing you know, your very simple hang, somebody could start thrashing, you could start fucking, who knows. So, for the most part, they've addressed this really well. I would, before I would deploy this for my own personal play, reinforce it, as I pointed out before, epoxy down my feet, and sandbag my corners. If I had the opportunity, I may even find a way to stake it down or make wider feet. I might have my steel guy make me a pair of wider feet to include sandbags. But for a cheap, or I should say for a lower cost, portable truss that you can break down quickly, it has limitations, and if you recognize your limitations, this is not a bad unit to have. But this is not an end-all be-all. The best hardpoint is, of course, something that's bolted into a beam into a building that's not going to move. But for portable, I think I'll use it, knowing its limitations. This has been a hardware review of the Tetruss 2 by Monk from Twisted Monk Labs. I really want to thank the folks at Tetruss.com for allowing us to give what I hope is a fair and even-handed product review so that you, the end consumer, can make an informed, intelligent decision. Like I said, this is not a paid endorsement. This is not a technical review. I am not an engineer. I am a rigger, and I hope that you, as my fellow riggers, will take this information and make an informed purchasing decision. Till then, I'll see you again.